Nowadays I'm just coasting, trying to find myself, no longer worry about me, but my grandma's health. Waking up and every morning she be laying in bed, telling me she feel like shit if she ain't taking the meds. Like damn, maybe lately I've been way too stoned. My head is getting like the size of Jimmy Neutrons. All these people sleeping on me like a futon, when really all these other rappers I could poop on. Yeah, I guess everything just takes time, and never will I let these hoes come and waste mine. Tell them not to ever cross me like a baseline, or it could get a little hectic, that's a hate crime.
To chat with the Aggies, Vic and Jessica, your co-hosts here. Thank you so much for being here. It is another exciting episode to share with you guys. It's been really great to share so much wisdom, get so much feedback, and just to be able to hopefully give you some tips and tricks on life.
Yeah. Again, thank you guys for listening to the last episode, and to everyone that follows us on either social media or YouTube or anywhere, any other platform that we kind of share these moments that we share together. Thanks everybody for listening, and give us some feedback on how we're doing.
Yes, yes,
Be
your
good to know.
feedback is so important to us. It allows us to create things that are meaningful for you, that excite you, that are things that you want to know more about. So, yeah, like Vic said, thank you so much for just the support, the words, the encouragement, the shares, all the things. So, go find us on all Apple Podcasts or all platforms for podcast, YouTube, social media, A Thriving Mind, on Facebook, A Thriving Mind by Jessica, or follow us personally on our Facebook accounts.
Yeah, hit the like button next time you're on YouTube or something, so he can see that you're watching or
Yes.
listening.
Yes, yes, yes.
You know, it'd be nice.
It helps. It helps the algorithm.
Yeah, so we know that someone's watching, and maybe it gives someone some good advice one day.
That's right. That's right. Well, speaking of advice, June is men's mental health month, which I think it should be every day, all day, all year long. But men's mental health is one of the things that we wanted to focus on today because we don't really talk about, well, men don't really talk about the struggles of mental health or the importance and the challenges that come up with mental health. And who else better than Victor to talk about it?
Yeah, this is the best subject for men. They love talking about themselves, right?
That's
Yeah.
right. Wink, wink.
Yeah, okay. This is something a man avoids talking about, is themselves all the time.
Right.
We don't like it. We don't like to talk about our feelings. We don't like to talk about our struggles. We don't like to talk to show that we're weak.
But that's the thing. That's what we say, or the stigma around it is that it's weak, but it's not. You're a human being who God gave you feelings, He gave you a brain. And as long as you have that, you're going to have mental health. Like that is what the reality is. Working around that stigma or working through that stigma, I should say, and that challenge to help open up those conversations is what we're here for.
Yeah, it's really hard to. I mean, men just in general don't like to talk,
I
don't like
know.
to share, don't like to talk about anything.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
we're
either there's a problem, let's solve it and then get over
yeah.
with. Let's
Let's
go to the
go.
next.
Yeah. Why are we still talking? Why are we still talking? You know, so it's becomes a difficult thing when we have to express and share and get in deep thought
Right.
on what we're really talking about or what's going on in our minds. So that's always a difficult thing to do, especially for men that they have struggled a lot. They don't like to show their weakness.
I agree. I live with one, but you've been doing so good. I do have to say that. I have to give you props because you have been doing amazing in the last few years. I've seen the growth in you. I've seen the vulnerability in you, and I've seen you trying to communicate better, or even just trying to ask me like, okay, when I have something that I want to say, or when I say something to you, here's kind of what I hope that you will reciprocate or that you will validate for me. Sometimes I'm hard-headed, or I love hard, and I can come off strong, and I think that's one of the things that's helped me a lot, is to be able to get your feedback and your openness and vulnerability to share with me how you want to be heard, or how you want to be seen, or how you are feeling and the challenges that you are going through.
Yeah, I think talking to you about how I like to kind of reset my mind when I'm struggling with things. It's kind of helped me out a lot in me learning how to communicate those things with you. And it allows me to have that time that you're learning from my communication on how
Mhm.
to deal with when I'm struggling with things.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing.
Agreed. No, and it's been, I mean, a learning process, right? We both are learning, we're both growing, and that's the beauty, I think, of life and having a partner in your life who's willing to grow with you and not just staying in the same place while you're growing and evolving. It's a team effort. And I love that we are doing that together.
Right.
It means a lot. So thank you.
Right. Because the way that back in the day, how I used to communicate my struggles is through the drinking. Drinking is when I used to, um, how that's how I express my stress, my anxiety, and not expressed it, but that's my actions. Like men act on their stress, act on their anxiety instead of feeling it. They kind of want to do something hard. They want to do something dangerous. They want to do something that suppresses the actual feeling.
Yes.
So for me, back in the day, was drinking. Kind of helped me. Well, they didn't help me. It masked it.
It
It
masked it.
masked the
Yeah.
the pain, the stress, the anxiety that I was going through.
Yeah, I agree. Because what I think has been a generational thing too is we see it a lot, whether in families or friends, or we don't know how to cope with our feelings or what we're thinking or the burdens that you carry. You, as men, don't like to ask for help. You don't like to ask for support. You know, that masculine energy comes in and it's like, no, I can't be seen, like you said, weak. I can't
Yeah.
show that I need help or support.
Yeah, and I don't know why we don't ask for help. I think first because we don't know how to communicate it.
Yeah.
We don't know how to express like I'm struggling, I'm going through something hard,
Yeah.
and we don't know how to communicate that. We just it seems like from a very young age, men are taught to just put your head down, buckle up, suck it up,
Mm.
and rough it through it. You'll get better on the other side.
Yeah.
You know, we're always taught that as kids, and or parents showed us that.
Right.
That's what they did.
Yeah.
And whenever we were struggling, they would always bring up, and I mean, especially in our culture, is like they always compare their struggles with our struggles.
Yeah.
You know, they if you tell them you're struggling with something, they don't even acknowledge your struggle. They would say like, "Oh, when I was little, I used to do it twice as hard as you,"
Mhm.
and that kind of thing comes up of, "Oh, when I was a kid, I used to do those things harder and further and hard." It's
Mhm.
like, okay, I didn't ask you for your struggles. I'm
Yeah.
struggling. You
Yeah.
know, so it was never helpful.
It was always it felt minimized.
Right.
It felt like what you were going through was not important. You, like you said, it was a like a competition of who had it harder, who had it worse,
Right.
rather than acknowledging like, okay, talk to me about that. Why are you struggling with that?
And that's one way that we can break that generational cycle.
Yeah.
So whenever a family member or your kids or your nephews they come with you with the struggle,
Mhm.
let's not bring that up. Like, well, when I was a kid, we didn't even have running water. I don't
Mhm.
know why you're stressing about. That's
Yeah.
the wrong mentality to have.
What I do with our kids is I don't compare my life to what they're going through, but I share this is what would happen to me, or this is how my mom and dad raised me, or this is what they would say to me when I
Yeah.
acted this way. So I try to share my personal story with them and kind
Hmm.
of, I don't want to say compare how I treat them or how you and I are raising them, but I want them to also know like what we had to endure, what we experienced is was really hard and what they're going through too, but more so like just as a way of a different perspective. I
Yeah.
try to share like my mom did this or my dad did that or but
Right.
in a way that helps them see like, oh man, that it is hard. You went through a struggle too. That's what I want them to know
Right.
is like I am human and I'm also going through struggles or I also went through hard things.
Yeah, and that's a hard thing for me to do also, because I came from that generation. That generation of you always have to work hard. You're a man. You're supposed to put your needs last and make sure that everybody's okay around you.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me. And for men that are raised hard like that, it's kind of hard for them to acknowledge their own mental health.
Mhm.
Because I was thinking about it earlier, like from the beginning of time, men have to put themselves at risk.
Mhm.
When the cavemen were around, when back in the day when they used to conquer countries, the man would leave the house and be like, "Hey, I'm not sure if I'm coming back, but if I don't conquer them, they're gonna conquer
Yeah.
us." Men have to put themselves in danger for so long to protect the family, to protect their kids. And I thought about this story earlier too that when I was in the Marine Corps, we believe either we were going for Japan or anywhere, especially when we went to war, we had to say goodbye to the families. And I didn't have a family at the time, but my buddies had their wives, their kids outside the bus saying goodbye to them. They were all crying. We
Mhm.
didn't know if we were coming home. And I would watch these families cry, hug each other. And they didn't know if that was the last time they were going to see each other. But when they got on the bus, that was the most quiet bus ride I've ever been in on the way to the airport because nobody would talk about what just happened.
What?
Nobody would talk about like, "Oh, man, we're about to leave. You just said goodbye to your kids.
Mhm.
Not sure if this is going to be the last time that you're going to see them." But nobody said anything until it was the right moment. Everybody then was like, "All right, boys, let's go. Who's ready?
Yeah.
We're gonna get some." But nobody spoke about that sensitive moment
Mm.
of saying goodbye to the families. Nobody said like, "Oh man, it's gonna be all right, man. Hey, well, I'm here for you."
Yeah.
Nobody said that moment. Everybody's just like
Interesting.
rough, tough. Let's go. Like we'll get over that moment. Quiet down. Nobody said nothing until it was the moment to be like, "All right, everybody got over it. Got it over.
Yeah.
It's over
Yeah.
with."
Yeah.
That moment just went in my mind and erased it, put it in the back of my head because
Mm.
now it's time to go to war, go get your mindset ready,
Yeah.
And that's the type of thing like men don't talk about those moments like that.
Right.
I mean, that was horrible. I don't know if I could do it now, leave my
Yeah.
kids to go to combat,
Yeah.
that was extreme. But we talk about moments like that and men are just built. I feel like men through generations, their genes have become tough like that,
Mhm.
because like I said earlier, we were here, we've been here for thousands of years, and men had to be put in positions where we need to thrive. We need to put in dangerous position to protect everyone around us.
Mhm.
So I feel like that's become part of our gene.
Yeah.
So now we live in a society where we're safe. There's order, there's
Yeah.
control, there's police officers, we're protected.
Yeah.
We don't have those dangers that we had thousands of years ago.
Oh,
The
yeah.
survival instinct of a man being a man, like, hey, I need to be tough. I can't be crying about little things. And now society wants us to be this simple, kinder, softer man,
Yeah.
you know. And I think we need to redefine of how what a warrior, what a man is,
Right.
you know, because man think about those moments like I'm a man, I need to conquer, I need to protect, but protect from what?
Right.
We're not
Right.
we're not out here fighting other tribes that are trying to take us over.
Yeah.
And I think it's in our genes to just kind of like we're always going to have that mentality of toughness, but we need to start learning as a man how to switch that off a little bit and live in the now and live in a better way of like, okay, I don't have to protect in a different way,
Yeah.
protect in a different way and teach in a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that protective mode that's on at all times that
Yep.
is hard to let go of that and to express really what's going on, because what happens is I think I noticed that is men are, like you said, designed to work hard, to protect, be like the breadwinner and fix things and do the things around the house, but the connection, the emotional connection is really not there with his
Right.
family, with his, his wife, with himself more than anything. That emotional, there's so much emotional disconnection from the world, from himself, that he doesn't know how to express those feelings, or he doesn't know, or when he is having hard moments, it's like
Yeah.
just get through it, like just get over it and let's get on to the next thing. So a lot of the times I feel like what you guys do is you guys find something to kind of keep your mind busy or do something else, because
Yeah.
nobody has time for that, is what they, that's what I've heard. Nobody has time to sit down and cry about it. Nobody has time to
Right.
dwell, or which is, sometimes we don't want to dwell, obviously, but there's a difference between dwelling and feeling and acknowledging like, okay, I'm not okay. Something is wrong, or something I'm going through is really hard.
Yeah. And it there's different men are built different too within each other, like there's men that just are manly. They just like really nothing gets to them. But there's other men that are softer too.
Hmm.
They're really soft that they show a lot more emotion. And for whatever reason is like we have to, like you said, we have to find a way to be able to express those things. And when we're stressed out enough, we have to find something that brings us back.
Mm-hmm.
Just having 20, 30 minutes alone fixing something, 20, 30 minutes alone mowing the lawn, that kind of rewires my mind. I think bring my thoughts together and be like, okay, I was stressed out, but I just mowed my lawn and I feel better.
Yeah.
For some reason, I feel like I have to have Like today, I mowed it, I push mowed it, but I feel like I have to have accomplished something hard
Yeah.
throughout the day to feel like, yes, I conquered that. I did something hard. And that brings me back like, okay, all the stressors, all the little things that I was worried about, I'm not worried about it anymore. And men need to find something to do like that instead of alcohol.
Yes.
Find something else to conquer that moment, to
Hmm.
conquer that stressor, to be able to release that energy somewhere else.
Yeah, a lot of the times, what I think also is men resort, like you said, to alcohol, drugs, sexual activity, or shutting down.
It's anger is a big thing that
Hmm.
I see, and I hang out with a lot of dudes, and um, anger, it's another thing. Alcohol is another thing that it shows that there's something going on there.
Hmm.
You know, like I said, I like to drink. I like to go out and have a good time, but sometimes excessiveness becomes a problem.
Right.
You're trying to hide something, dude. What are you trying to hide from?
Yeah.
Talk to someone, get some help, because going out drinking all day until 3 4 in the morning on the weekends, every weekend, is not the right thing to do.
Yeah. And a lot of times it's hard to face ourselves and to be honest with ourselves, and it's harder to feel those emotions and face those
Yeah.
truths. The coping mechanism is alcohol. It is going out with women and all of these other negative things that are only fulfilling, quote quote, in that moment and bring you that instant gratification. Or sometimes it doesn't even bring instant gratification. It's just like, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm used to, and it's defaulting to our normal behavioral patterns instead of realizing, like, this isn't working for me anymore. This is not good for me. It's not bringing me any benefits. It's making me feel like crap the next day or the moment that I do it. I know it's wrong. So, how can I heal from the things that I don't talk about? How can I let go of the past? How can I form and rewrite a new story for myself? And especially if we have kids.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, alcohol is not the answer.
No.
One, first of all, but I saw a stat the other day that suicide in man is like a high percentage compared to women,
Yeah,
and I feel like alcohol and drugs have a lot to do with it.
absolutely.
Because they said it feels like alcohol makes you a little braver, makes
Hmm.
you like, I'll do things that you wouldn't do if you were sober.
Yeah.
So if you're going through something like that, if you're going through a struggle, don't put alcohol into it. Don't bring alcohol into the mix, because it's going to be bad.
It only makes things worse, and it
Right.
makes you only feel worse. And I think it's also so normalized, that it's okay or that it's just part of society.
Yeah.
Instead of really acknowledging that mental health, when there is involved drinking involved, when drugs and other things are involved, that it's kind of taboo to talk about, something we don't acknowledge, or it's hard for us to, I don't know, to truly just speak up about it.
Right.
For men, like that's what we're talking about is men.
Yeah. And what, I'll be honest with you, like, that's before I met you, that's what I was struggling with. I mean, I didn't even know it. When I first got hired to be a police officer, I had to get a psych evaluation, and because I've been to combat, and the psychologist was telling me like, "Hey, how's your drinking? How's your nightmares? How's your sleep?" I was 23 years old. I was like, "Fine, I have no worries. Like, I don't
Yeah.
have none of those problems, you know." And then looking back at my young 20s until I met you, I never got good sleep. I was drinking my life away. I was struggling with my nightmares,
Mhm.
and I was just in a loneliness, trying to seek something that I didn't know I was looking for. And alcohol was the only escape that I had. And it was from Thursday through Sunday, it was drinking. And I was trying to find something that I wasn't even looking for. And that wasn't the answer for me.
Yeah.
And if you're going through those type of struggles, man, talk to someone, find something that's going to help you, because you're either going to waste your life away and end up in places where you don't need to be.
Yeah. Thank you for that vulnerability. Thank you for sharing that, cuz I think a lot of people, men, need to hear that. Need to know that sometimes you did struggle, or sometimes there were moments in your life where that were hard. But I'm curious, what do you think made you, looking back now or just in the last few years, like what made you realize that this is not the life I want to live anymore? What clicked in your head?
I think finding a purpose, finding that purpose when I really when it really sank down for me is when we started a family. when we started a family, for me, it was that was it. You know, it took me still a few years to figure that out. But once we we got a family and it was serious, like I know, like okay, this is serious. Like you're not going anywhere. I don't want you to go anywhere.
Yeah.
I don't want my family to be separated. And I had to choose between you and my family. And at that moment, I was like, you know what? I need to make sure that my family stays together. And my purpose in life was making sure that I raised my son, become a good husband. And from that moment, I still drink, but not to the extremes that I used to because I knew that I had a purpose in life now. I'm a dad. I'm a husband. This is my house. This is my kingdom that I need to make it what I want it to be. And if I don't become the king of my kingdom, someone else will.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna like someone else running my wife,
Yeah.
my kids,
Yeah.
and I never want to see that moment. So that's when I'm like, I need to stop drinking how I was drinking
Hmm.
because this is the people that bring me happiness. Why would I want to ruin that?
Yeah.
You know?
I think Alizé was also a big part of.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
of course, both of them, but I think also having a
yeah,
daughter,
yeah,
really, and we talk about mental health, but I mean, we need to also talk about the importance of mental health on our kids when we are not doing well, when
yeah.
we are not ourselves, we're not healthy, we're not healing. Our kids feel that impact.
Oh, for sure. Nobody likes. I mean, I especially didn't like the mornings after I went out drinking all night. The whole week was walking on eggshells. Me apologizing again.
Mhm.
You know, asking you like, I'm sorry, I won't do it again. And then another weekend came by that where there was a party somewhere, and I would be out till 2 or 3 in the morning. And again, the next week it would be the same thing, and I didn't like that anymore. And I wasn't being held accountable for my own actions. I was saying sorry, but I wasn't meaning it. So at the moment that you gave me the ultimatum of like, hey, this is it. I'm not gonna accept your apology ever again.
Yeah.
If this happens again, I'm out, you know, because I was hurting you guys. I was hurting my family and I didn't want that.
Yeah.
So it's I didn't want someone else to run my kingdom and I wanted to be present. I wanted to be there for you guys. And alcohol was just something that I needed to get done with,
Yeah.
you know, and at that moment, yeah, my daughter coming to this world, I got a new princess. I need to, and our kids would see that,
Yeah.
you know, and they see it now when we, you know, when we have a little arguments,
Hmm.
even when we don't argue, when we
Yeah.
start talking a little faster, a little louder, they already acknowledge it.
Hmm.
You guys fighting? Why are you guys fighting? Like we're not fighting, we're just talking,
Hmm.
you know, and that projects into their life,
Yeah.
and I don't want that world to be part of their world.
I love that you, I think I know that's what makes me love you more, is that you prioritize us, that you really didn't want to lose us, that you chose to live differently, to do things differently because you didn't want to lose your family.
Yeah,
Because you didn't want to have somebody else, like you said, step in when you knew your potential was there. You knew you could do it. It was
yeah,
just making that decision to actually do it. And you deciding like I've got to get that under control, not alcohol having control over me.
right,
That's huge because what happens is it runs us and runs us until one day, I guess the ultimatum, has to come, or that decision to the point where you have to have a choice of, is it going to be the alcohol? Is it going to be the anger? Is it going to be, whatever your problem is for the listener is you work too much, you go out with your friends, you're drinking, all of these things, you keep cheating on your person. Like these things have to stop in order for you to make a change, and it's up to you to do it. And so the
right.
fact that Victor just said I had to decide what I wanted to do and just stick to that decision every day and know what I was going to lose if I didn't stick to that decision.
Yeah, I knew you guys' worth. I knew what you guys were worth to me, but at the same time, you were allowing me to do it by letting me apologize every
Yeah.
other time until the moment that you not let me apologize no more. Like
Yeah.
no more. That's the last apology that I'm going to give you. Is when I had to figure out like, holy crap, she
Yeah.
really means it. If I do this again, I'm out. You know, and I knew you guys' worth it, and that's at that moment I was like, I need
Hmm.
to change. Do I really want this? You know, and I think around that time frame, I also started seeing a therapist.
Yeah. Mhm.
Seeing a therapist about all my issues, about the things that I was going through.
Mhm.
Because I mean, there's a lot of things that I went through as a child and going through combat. Coming to this country when I was little. That whole change, I didn't even realize that it would affect me as an adult,
Like it
and
did.
it has.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you I'm glad you said about the therapist. Do you think depression looks different for men than it does in women?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Because depression for me, when I was drinking before I met you, looked like I was a fun guy. Looked like, oh man, that dude's out all the time. Oh, that dude loves to party. He's so fun.
Mm,
You know, had lots of friends. Everybody like when we go out, like, oh, Vic, let's go, let's do this. And I'm like, yeah, let's go. But at the end of the day, I would come home drunk, alone,
yeah.
wake up alone, lonely. And I didn't even know I was depressed. I didn't
Yeah.
even know I was going through it. And now looking back, and I'm like, shoot, dude, I was deep. You
Mhm.
know,
What advice would you give to someone, or what are the tips that you would give to someone who is in maybe that space, but they don't realize it, or they know something is there, but they just don't know how to find
Ooh.
the answer?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not no specialist or therapist or whatever, but just from what I went through, just change something once every day. Change one thing. Say no to one thing.
Mhm.
If you know that habit, hang out with that one person. There was always that one person or that group of friends that were always there. That I was hanging out with them. It was going to be an all nighter. It's going to be an all weekender. And I'm not saying it's not bad. Yeah, hang out with people like that from time to time to have a good time,
Yeah.
or leave early. Maybe say no to somebody. Maybe say no to that moment. Maybe say no to that last cigarette. Like maybe say no to that last drink. Just say no to one thing, and then it's going to accumulate throughout time. Start saying no to the things that are affecting you, just little by little.
Yeah.
Instead of going out Thursday to Sunday, just go out Friday, Saturday. Start like that, and the next
Yeah.
week just start little by little, because it's tough getting out of that grind. That you're used to every day, and being around the same people every day. It's very tempting.
Yeah.
Alcohol is tempting, partying is tempting, being out is tempting.
Working a lot is tempting.
Yeah,
That's I think when you realize that you don't have control of this thing anymore, that in itself should be a big um I guess flag to realize that saying no means saying yes to a better life,
yeah,
saying yes to healing, to growth, healing, just saying yes to your family, saying yes to being more present, saying yes to being healthier.
yeah.
So knowing that you can't control the thing that has control over you is big, because you start realizing like, gosh, that overpowers me. I know I can't stop eating the cake, I can't stop drinking, I can't stop putting that cigarette down, I can't resist the urge of dating another woman, whatever it is,
Yeah.
that habit that we fall into. I can't resist saying no to work because I want to avoid being away from my family, or because it's too much at home and we're just going to argue with my partner. So it's learning to really be aware of the things that we feel like we don't have control over and that are really tempting.
No, yeah, you lose control, because from my experience, also the same time frame that I'm speaking about, drinking every weekend, like how I was, not only caused me health problems, you know, just feed to my depression at the
Mhm.
time, but also financially it hurt me. I lost a lot of money during in my 20s, where
Mhm.
I could have been better financially. I was spending $500 to $1,000 a weekend, living paycheck to paycheck. And because I was just searching for the next fun, next weekend, to kind of hide my loneliness. And I would hang out with people, pay for everything, and just, hey, come be my friend. I'll buy you drinks.
Yeah.
Just be with me. And I made a lot of friends that I'm still friends with, and I was an asshole to a lot of other friends, because I was just trying to be very selfish.
Yeah.
I was very selfish, and I apologize for those people that I hurt during that time frame. And it wasn't anything intentional, but it was just me being selfish at the moment.
It had to
And
do a lot with your mental health,
right,
right? Your mental health was not stable, it wasn't well, it wasn't good. It's survival. I mean, like you said, you've been through a lot. through your childhood, through combat, through being a police officer, all of those things, you've endured a lot of trauma, a lot of secondhand trauma. So that impacts your mental health. That will definitely make you feel lonely and resort to things or to actions and behaviors that you don't want. So it's really,
Yeah.
I think, knowing where is your mental health and how is it impacting your day to day life and where do you want to go in life?
Yeah. And at those moments, I wasn't even thinking about that.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking about where do I need to go? What do I need to do to get better? It was just, hey, it's Monday. Just got to get past the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because Thursday comes and I'm back alive,
Yeah.
back doing what I was doing,
Yeah.
you know?
The auto, what is it called? I can't think of the word right now, but it's your body's on autopilot.
Yeah. It was
Autopilot.
autopilot
You
for
know, you're
sure.
surviving, you're on autopilot. You know exactly what Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday look like because
Mm-hmm.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday look the same. So
Right.
it's autopilot, it's the survival mechanism, it's trying to feel that dopamine hit because
Yeah.
being home alone or having a crappy relationship or whatever it might be that you are not feeling fulfilled in or purposeful in when you don't feel like you have a purpose
Right.
other than you job, of course, I'm sure you enjoyed your job, but when you don't have another meaningful purpose in your life, it's going to impact so much of your mental health.
Yeah. And you're right. If I didn't have a purpose, I didn't have a destination,
Hmm.
I didn't have anything. It was only survive the week so the weekend can be here
Yeah.
and I can just numb whatever I was going through. And to be honest, I didn't even know what I was depressed about, what I was lonely about, you know. It was, I mean, a lot of men go through struggles like that. They just sometimes there's so much going on in their head with making sure their job's done correctly, making sure they don't get fired because they have to
Hmm.
provide for the family, making sure that, you know, whatever the family needs, it's met. So sometimes it's just an overwhelming thing of things that are going through their head. We make it so natural to say, like, I had a rough week. I need
Yeah.
a drink. You
Yeah.
know, that it becomes so natural
It does.
to be like, yeah, you had a rough week, honey. Yeah, go have some drinks.
Yeah. Yeah.
But sometimes you guys allow us to take that step to release that energy. That doesn't mean come back at 5 in the morning.
Right, right. But that's what it does. That's what
Yeah.
does happen most of the time. Or, we as partners try to be understanding that you do have a lot going on and you do
Hmm.
have a lot of pressure. But because there, again, we go back to you don't have control over that. That's when it becomes a problem. And instead of like saying no or knowing your limit and realizing, okay, I'm already at a point where I don't feel right or I think I've had enough. It's time for me to go home. And that's the biggest issue, I think, for a lot of people is not knowing their limits and not saying no because now I'm having too much fun. Now I'm too deep into it and might as well make it worth it, I guess.
Yeah.
But I love what you mentioned earlier about like job expectations and the financial pressure. I think that also is a big part of men's mental health. What Tell me more about that. Like when you think about that and like you said having to pay for bills, having to provide for the family, like what is that like as a man?
Oh, man. Yeah. There's men. I mean, without you guys giving us the job or the title, like we put ourselves in a position to making sure that our family's provided
Mhm.
to the fullest of our capability, and we put that pressure on ourselves to make sure that we are the best at our job
Yeah.
because that's how men are. I mean, like I said, from the beginning of the time, we have been, I'm stronger, I'm the alpha dog around
Yeah.
here, you know? So, like at work, is, I mean, nobody says it, nobody talks about it, but everybody just tries to be the tough man, you know, to do their job the fullest of their capabilities. And it becomes a, not a stressor, but how can I explain it? But to make sure that we're always thinking of the future, making sure that everything's always in line. Like,
Mhm.
okay, this is 6 months, a year. I mean, especially for me, I think about the future to making sure that my family's provided, not
Yeah.
only about the day, but the next week and the week after, to make sure that we're not going to need anything,
Yeah.
you know, and we give ourselves that job without you guys automatically giving it. We put everything on our shoulders to make sure that you guys are provided.
Yeah. That's a lot of pressure because you feel the need, like you said, this heaviness of making sure not just for today, but for the future. And to make sure that there's food on the table, that house to live in, that your kids are clothed, that school supplies are being bought,
Yeah.
that trips are being made and we're having fun. So
Right.
That is a lot of pressure. Thank you for all the good things that you do for our family and for all the men out there who do the same, right? Who provide, who worry, who work hard for their families,
Right.
not to struggle or who worry about what is going to make, the future a better, brighter future for their kids. Thank you for just caring so much and literally caring and for caring in your heart so much because yeah, that is a hard struggle. That is difficult, and you have provided a place for me to have left the corporate world and be able to pursue my dream of opening up my business, pursuing it full time, doing what I have dreamt of. And your ability to give me that freedom really has opened up a lot of doors for me in my life, but it's because you've also we've prepared together, but you've prepared mentally and physically and emotionally and financially to be here so that I could have this opportunity of opening up my business and working full time and being home with my kids.
Yeah.
Like, you have given me that opportunity. And for the men out there who also are doing that for their wives, I think that is incredible that you allow us to live a soft life. You allow us to be moms, but to be wives as well and to pursue the dreams that we want. And that is a heavy thing, I'm sure, for men to carry. But you
Yeah.
have given us those opportunities because you financially have prepared or because we've talked about a plan and put it in place to be able to do these things.
I think that's I'm just gonna say it, and I believe it. I think that how this is how I feel. I think that's every man's main goal, or for me, it makes me feel like a man. Being able to provide for my family without you having to work, and you stay home with my kids.
Hey, I do work.
Well, you stay home with the kids and raise them like
Yeah.
the mom that God made you, and for me to be going home and feel that my kids are safe because they're home with their mom and not having to, you know, take them out of the house and
Hmm.
put them in someone's hands. And I just feel manly to be able to provide without you having to work.
You're gonna make me cry.
I mean, that's an ultimate goal of a man. That's what
Yeah.
man, like back in the day, how we all started. It makes me feel like a man, be able to provide for you and my
Yeah.
kids without you having to move a finger.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate man move you can do.
Yeah. Oh, why are you making me cry on the podcast here? And it's the most beautiful gift that a woman can receive. And at least for me, in my opinion, is that the most beautiful gift to be able to be a present mom while also pursuing my dreams, while also being a housewife. Like that's the dream for every woman, I
Yeah,
think, or
and
for the majority of us.
well, I mean, not everybody can do it. Not everybody's
Yeah.
financial
Yeah.
stabilities are the
Right.
same or opportunities are the same.
Yeah.
You know, and thank you to God that
Yeah.
allows us to do that. And if you can achieve that goal, more power to you. And like that's just for me, it just is an ultimate move that God allowed me to make,
Yeah.
and it makes me feel like a man, being able to provide for my family without you having to make one move.
Yeah.
And I love that, and I love being that dad. I love being that husband.
Yeah.
You know,
Because my kids hopefully will, as they get older, remember their childhood where their parents were, like mom was present and dad was, yes, he was a provider, he was a caretaker, he was a protector, but he was also present.
yeah,
And that means a lot. It's because, like you said, not everybody has that opportunity. And God has given us the opportunity to do that.
right.
And embracing this, I'm embracing it. Although it may be tough sometimes, it can be really difficult and challenging. It's been incredible.
It's just, I mean, men. I don't know, just the type of man that I
Yeah.
am, the type of man that I'm around, or the type of man that I grew up with, like to do tough things. And men should like to do tough things. Men should like to be put in hard situations because men are meant
Yeah.
to thrive in moments because we're problem solvers. That's how God made us, to be problem solvers. That's how I feel. And if you're that type of man, you're going to have stress. You're going to have stress regardless because in this world, we have created things that we shouldn't worry about, but we do. And find you a woman that's going to help you be a better man and conquer those things that you want. And you're going to achieve those things because
Yeah.
men, we're made to conquer. We're
Yeah.
made to do better things. That's how we're built.
But you were also meant to be loved. You were also meant to
Right.
be cared for. You were also meant to be supported. You were also meant to be spoken softly to. You know, you were also meant to live a soft life as well. You know, that a woman can provide that, or the woman that can hold that space for you as men, as you said, like to be those
Yeah.
warriors, but also knowing that when you come home, you're going to be loved, you're going to be cared for, you're going to be taken care of, and you
Yeah.
deserve to feel that. Like when you come to me, or, you know, you talk to me about something, that you always feel like whatever I say to my wife is going to be safe, and she's not going to criticize or judge me, but she's going to love me through it, and
Right.
she's going to forgive me, or she's going to just listen to what I have to say.
Yeah. I think that's my struggle. Like, like I want to be that warrior, that grit. I need to have grit. I have mental toughness, but I need to learn how to be lovable.
Yeah.
How you said, speak softly to me, or me express like, man, it was hard at work. It was, hard because this and that, and express it. And you learn how to make me feel better.
Mhm.
Sometimes me feeling better is being left alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've noticed that me being left alone doing things like fixing something, accomplishing something,
Hmm.
it makes me just feel a little better
Yeah.
throughout the day,
Yeah.
you know? But I struggle from having that mental toughness all the time. Like, yeah, I'm a cop, I'm a Marine, I can do things that are hard
Yeah.
to
And you've
come.
proven yourself a hundred thousands of times. I feel like I would hope that at some point you're like, okay, I've proven it myself enough, that I'm manly and I'm tough, but it's still hard. I mean, it's hard to break through and break from that, because that's what has been ingrained in you for so long. So it can be really tough, and I can't imagine what it's like, because I was like that a lot when we first started dating. That's how I was. Like, I'm tough. I don't need that soft side of me. You know, I was always in protective mode, survival mode of like, you're not going to do me wrong. But you have allowed that space for me to realize that I don't have to be hard headed. I don't have to always be hard. That when I am struggling, I can come to you. When I am going through something, you will listen to me. You will hold space for me. You will love me and hug me through it all. That you're not going to leave, or that you're not going to sit there and be like, you know what, ya cállate la boca. Like, why are you complaining about stuff again?
Yeah.
And that's what's helped me. So maybe I'm not being soft for you enough to hold that space for you, you know, but I try to be that, but I think it's like I said, it's different for men. It's different for men than it is for women to
Yeah,
be able to
it's
express
different for
those
sure.
those feelings, or to let go
Yeah.
of what that protective in you has always been,
Yeah,
or
I mean, I
that
guess
tough mentality, I
it's
should
different
say.
from everyone else. It's different for everyone
Yeah.
how they want to be dealt with stress. I think the one thing that I do, want to, if you're a man and listen to this, it's learn how to communicate with your significant other or
Mhm.
anyone that you love the most. Learn how to communicate when you're in that moment. You're like, man, everything's falling apart. I don't know what to do. Learn how to communicate that with someone.
Yeah.
And if you've been married or been together for a long time, like you should know when that moment is for your significant other. I could tell as soon as I walk in the door how your day went. Like you don't have to tell me how your day went. As soon as I walk in the door, I know your face. I
Yeah.
know your body movements. Even your kids know your body movements. They even
Mhm.
say it to you. Like you don't even know how we figured out what's wrong. Something's wrong. Just the way you move. You should know that about your partner. You
Yeah.
should know that about your husband. If they had a tough day, this is what I'm going to say. I might get in trouble. Like, if your husband comes home and you read his body language, don't dump a to do list on him
Yeah.
or tell him, like, oh, we have all this shit going on this weekend. You better be ready. Like, bro, I just had a bad day.
Yeah.
Or come at him about something he did yesterday. Like,
Mhm.
learn, read the room, special moment. Like, okay, I'll save that one for later when he feels better.
Mm.
A lot of times people don't care about reading body movements or their body language, that people just like automatically start at it. Learn your body, learn your significant other. You should know when there's a bad day at work, when
Yeah.
he's going through it. You should know that.
And also have the man explain it, because sometimes when you come home, like sometimes your body language, your mood is very similar through the struggles, through the happiness. Like, I don't know, which are you excited? Are you happy to be here? Are you mad? Like,
We're good at hiding
you're
that.
very good at like hiding what you're feeling. So
We're
sometimes I
good at
don't
hiding.
know.
Yeah, we're good at hiding that we're not having a good day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
because
so
we
it's
don't want to
hard for
put that
us.
burden on you.
But that's what we're talking
Yeah.
about. Mental health is a big thing that we need to express and we need to talk
Right.
about, especially if your partner or is holding that space or has been able to open the door to talk to me. Like when something's wrong, tell
Right.
me. When something you don't like about me, tell me. When you've had a hard day at work, talk to me about it. When you're ready, right? Like I'm not saying talk about it and dump it right away,
Yeah.
but be open about, like, you know what, the other day this or today that, or this is what I've been worrying about, this is what's been in my mind so much, this is what is stressing me out. Those are the things that men need to learn how to express and be vulnerable with their partner about, because we don't always know how to. I mean, I
Right.
think we, like you said, we've been together for a long time and we've gotten to know each other's body language or voice, the way that our voice, our words, things like that. But sometimes you guys are really good about just being very flat and monotone, and it's hard to read what's going on. So it's important for you guys also to just approach us and let us know, this is what's bothering me. This is what I'm thinking about. Here's what I'm stressed out about, so that we can understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, and that's the problem that we have as men. We don't like to communicate. We don't like to tell you like, "Oh, we're going through it. This is hard," because then we're not gonna look like kings. We're gonna look like weak
Just because you
kings.
don't like
You
it
know.
doesn't mean don't do it.
I know that. I need to communicate better of what I'm struggling with.
Yeah.
But a lot of times it's like we're struggled through work, we struggled through finances, and we're fixers, we're problem solvers.
Yeah.
And I already thought about the solution. Well, I hope it works, you know. So I'm struggling with it now. I already thought about what I need to do. I need to fix it this way. I already have the solution,
Mm.
but it has not been resolved yet.
Yeah.
So it just sits in my head, sits in my head like, okay,
Right.
hopefully that works. And a lot of times it works. And they're like, oh, cool, that worked. Let's forget about that problem. Let's
Yeah.
move on to the next one.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't like to put more stressors on you that I don't need.
And I also want to know sometimes. I mean, every partner, every
Yeah.
person's different, but sometimes I do want to know because I don't know if everything's okay. And sometimes I do have a to do list for you, and I have things that I'm like, wait, we need to do these things. And you're in that mood of, I don't think that I have the space for that right now, but I
Yeah.
don't know because you don't say
Yeah.
anything.
You're right.
So there's
They
times where I'm
communicate.
like, okay, did I say something wrong? Did I do something? And it has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do, like what you said, the thing you're thinking about, the plan that you're going to execute, the things that you are going to solve. But those have never been conveyed to me. So
Yeah.
sometimes I don't know, is this something I said or did wrong? Versus, oh my gosh, he's really going through something right now, or he's got a lot in his mind that he's thinking about. So that's why communication is important.
Big
Communication is
time.
really, really important to be able to understand each other, to express each other what is going on in your head, because sometimes we don't know. Or,
Right.
as wives, because you show us that you're so tough, that we think, well, nothing bothers them, so I guess he's fine. Because sometimes that's how I am. I think, like, do you ever get phased by anything? Is there anything on your mind? Are you worried about anything? Because I got 1,000 things that I'm thinking about. But it's because you guys, like I said, you guys are very monotone, just very flat. There's no emotion, and it's hard to read you guys sometimes. So, men, communicate. Talk to your partner, talk to your wife, be vulnerable, be open, right? Because we don't always know what's happening in your head, what you're thinking about, what you're worried about. And if your partner, your spouse allows you to have that space, use it. Use it to grow
and
together.
and I think that's where men need to learn. Like, if you're gonna be vulnerable with a person that's not gonna put you down when you're
Yes.
vulnerable. With that's gonna lift you up.
Yes.
You know, that's the person that you need to be vulnerable with.
That's exactly right.
Yep.
Because and I think not I think I know a lot of men have been shut down from childhood, from their adolescence, from relationships. They've been shut down. That's why they no longer speak up.
Right.
They no longer share their feelings or moments of difficulty because it's been shut down, or because that voice comes in of, be a man. This is
Right.
weak. Stop being a bitch, or whatever,
Right.
whatever it might be. It stops them from actually opening up to someone who is willing to listen, who is willing to support, who is willing to understand. But because their experiences have been so bad, that they have that fear, or they think, well, my feelings don't matter anyway. That's what I've been taught, or that's what I've been told.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, depending on how you were raised and how the things that you were taught as a kid, but break that cycle.
Yeah.
Break that cycle so you're able to thrive in your family, thrive as a man and husband, son, whichever one you are. Because there's nothing worse than someone falling into a bad situation and doing something that they might regret. So ask for help. If that vulnerable person's not there for you, if that person that you could be vulnerable with is not there, find a friend. Just tell them your story. Tell them what you're going through. Ask for help. That's the number one thing that I want people to get out of this, to make sure that you find that person that they can just listen, and might guide you to the right place. Like I said a couple episodes ago, God puts people in front of you on purpose.
Yeah.
There's going to be that one person that you're going to come across, and he's going to listen to you and let you be vulnerable and guide you to the right direction to get you out of your dump.
Yeah.
So just know that God is there, and God is going to put the right person in front of you. Ask for help, so you don't have to. You're not alone. You're not doing it alone. We're all going through the same struggle in life. We're all, human.
Mm-hmm.
We all get up the same way everybody gets up, and nobody has all the answers.
Right.
So if we're a community and help each other, and if someone reaches out to you, just be an ear,
Yes.
ear to that person, to be able to listen to what their struggles are. And if you can't help them, I'm sure that you can guide them in a direction where someone else can help them.
That's true. Yep, that's true. Well, thank you so much, everyone. That is today's episode.
Man, it's
Thank
a
you
lot
for
about
tuning
me. I
in.
don't like that.
This is good. This is good. Your experiences, the things that have helped you are going to help someone else, hopefully, because you have a lot of wisdom. You have a lot of
Mm,
experience. Bad, all the things as every human. So thank you for sharing today a lot of what your own personal stories, your vulnerability. Thank you for the strategies and tools that you provided for our listeners. And thank you all for listening to us. Hopefully, thank you for tuning in. And hopefully, you can share this with someone who needs to hear it, someone else who needs to hear what we were sharing or talking about. So be sure to follow us on Apple Podcasts or any podcast platform, YouTube. Chat with the Aggies, A Thriving Mind. And until our next episode, we will see you then.
Can you blame me? I just want the payments. She just wanna party with some people. Nowadays I'm just coasting, trying to find myself, no longer worried about me, but my grandma's health. Waking up and every morning she be laying in bed, telling me she feel like shit if she ain't taking the meds. Like damn, maybe lately I've been way too stoned. My head is getting like the size of Jimmy Neutrons. All these people sleeping on me like a futon, when really all these other rappers I could poop on. Yeah, I guess everything just takes time, and never will I let these hoes come and waste mine. Tell them not to ever cross me like a baby.